Right. Okay, my name is Martin Graff. I'm from the University of South Wales, which is in South Wales near Cardiff. Or not South Wales near Cardiff, Cardiff's in South, the geography. And I'm going to talk about why online dating doesn't work. I'm going to start by talking just a little bit about the psychology of relationships, romantic relationships. There we go. Why we study romantic relationships in psychology? We know that people who are in good relationships, good romantic relationships, are happier, have better health, and live longer. Okay, so if you're in a good relationship, the prospects are good, you're going to be happier, you're going to be healthier, you're going to live longer. So that's why I guess we study relationships, because it's got a really sort of important social and economic impact. If people live longer and more healthily, then it's got kind of less burdensome, I guess, on society's resources. So that's why we study it. So should we, if we're not in a relationship, should we, take to online, online dating in order to get ourselves into a relationship? So talking about online dating, if you've looked at this, anybody, you can use mainstream online dating sites such as Match.com, OkCupid, Plenty of Fish. You probably know the kinds of site I'm talking about. You don't have to Google very far to look at some what we call fairly niche dating sites. There's Personals, apparently for people who like cats. There is Uniform Dating, if you like people who wear uniform. You can go to Uniform Dating, you get better. There we go. This one, Christian Singles, so people who are Christians, people who are religious, can go to that site. There's one called uglybugsball.com, I kid you not. Okay, people who are, shall we say, not particularly good looking, who, in all seriousness, will not stand very much chance in a kind of open sort of market, as it were, for dating. So that you can go onto uglybugsball.com and use that. These are all real sites. There's Sea Captain, apparently, for someone it says, dating can be a stormy sea, and I think the other tagline I had was, use this one if you want your first mate. Boom, boom. Okay, Bristler, if you like people with beards, you can use that one. Nice. Clown dating, apparently people who dress up as clowns. So it took me 5 minutes to find these, right? And one of the ones, gluten-free singles.com. Okay. So lots of different dating sites outside your kind of normal mainstream dating sites. So and this is kind of important. I'll say a little bit about why this is important a little bit later on. However, online dating. Okay, before we proceed, can anybody tell me what we mean by dating? What does dating mean? Anyone been on a date? I'm sure you have. But what? Huh? Meeting? Okay, meeting. Does it just mean meeting? If you're dating someone, are you just meeting them for the first time? Okay. Do you not say, "Oh, I'm dating this person"? Is it not kind of maybe one of the stages in relationships that you go kind of that you meet them, perhaps you on a kind of first date, then you might be dating them, but you might not say I'm in a relationship, but you're dating them. So online dating, is it actually online dating? For example, we don't live in some kind of dystopian society where we are just dating someone online, we're just talking to them online, but we're never meeting them. Okay, like I'm trying to illustrate there with a kind of like a robot, something like that. We're not online dating as such, are we? It's not actually dating in the way in which we talk about dating in a kind of face-to-face sense. It is an introductory service only. Okay, that's all it is, and we all knew that. But it's called online dating, but it's not really dating in that kind of sense, I don't think. Secondly, if you think of the kind of business plan for online dating sites, okay, it cannot be that they want everybody to meet and live happily ever after, can it? What they want is for you to sort of go on for a couple of dates, maybe for a little while, okay, it kind of works a bit, and then you come back again and you pay more money. If it all worked perfectly, everybody would be paired up. Okay, we'd all live happily ever after because we're going to be healthier and happier if we're in a relationship. Okay, and there'd be no more online dating, wouldn't it? It wouldn't exist. Okay, so the business plan must be I'm not saying that this is why it doesn't work, but the business plan must be that it only works a little bit. Okay, it works enough for people to be reasonably satisfied with it. I know I've said online dating doesn't work. Well, obviously it does, because somebody's going to say to me, well, I met such on online dating, and it does work. So yeah, what I'm trying to say, I suppose, is there may be some sort of caveats, some kind of some things about online dating which maybe suggest that it's not all it's cracked up to be. Okay, so the process of online dating, according to this guy, Eli Finkel, you can't see that, but it's almost like you can almost make a game in this, I suppose. It says that you register on a site, you start, you look at other people's profiles, you start chatting to them, and the end game is to meet up and have a proper face-to-face relationship. Essentially, what online dating offers these things. It offers access to a lot more people than potentially you might meet in sort of a face-to-face context. So you've got, maybe access to lots of people. Some sites say that they'll match people up in terms of certain relevant characteristics. So you're matched up. And they also offer a means of communication with people before you actually meet. So those are the kind of advantages maybe to online dating. Okay, that it's access, it's matching, and it offers communication to people before they actually meet. So you can sort of have a little chat with them, perhaps, decide whether you like them or not before you actually go and meet them. Okay, so what are the problems then, as I see it, with online dating? Okay, I'm going to mention 7 sort of problems or sort of issues to consider, perhaps, before I go on to talk about maybe some of the things perhaps you can do to maximise your chances. The first is to do with what we refer to in psychology as impression formation. Okay, the way in which we form impressions of people through online dating. And it's kind of this, I'll try to say, it's a bit more kind of, some people have talked about it as being two-dimensional. You do not get the whole picture of somebody. If you meet people or meet someone in the workplace, you kind of get to know them a little bit more before you meet them. Through online dating, you don't. You just get a photo and a description. So you don't really get the full impression of somebody before you actually meet them. Sort of, I will say, cynically, coldly, for a coffee. Shall we? You see somebody, you chat a bit, or shall we meet? Okay. But it's a little bit different to the person you might have met, in the office. In school, in college, through kind of social interaction, is kind of different. So, the information we're getting is more kind of what we call descriptive rather than experiential. Okay? That sometimes leads us, impression formation. We form impressions of people probably through maybe stereotypes more, rather than, it's not what we call data-driven. It's not, the information you get and the impressions you make of somebody face to face. So the way in which we meet is different, and maybe the way in which we kind of see people in online dating is slightly different to those impressions we get of people in a face-to-face context. Okay. Number 2, through online dating, we potentially make bad decisions, or we don't make bad decisions, or maybe overplaying it a little bit, but we don't make decisions in the same way that we make decisions when we see people face to face. For example, imagine you're out, I don't know, in a pub, okay, and you're kind of in the market for seeing somebody, okay, and you look around the room, okay, and you see somebody you like, okay. That's the kind of way it works, isn't it? Through online dating, so you see one person and you think, oh, I like them, I'll go and chat to them, okay. Unless you're kind of some kind of I don't know, super stud or whatever, you probably don't go around the room chatting to lots of different people, okay, in the hope that one of them's gonna sort of say yes to you. Okay, mostly we sort of see one person perhaps who kind of we like, and we go for that. Yeah, would I be right? I don't know if anyone sort of systematically works around the room. When you go in, that doesn't happen, right? We don't do that. So it's one person, okay, they say yes or no, and if they say no, then that's on that over. We leave it for another time. Okay, in online dating, then we get flooded with profiles, don't we? And even if you're on, there we are. If you're on Tinder, you got your. I haven't got Tinder on here just now, but we've all done it. Okay, you're going, oh yeah, swipe, swipe, swipe. You get in sort of sequences of people, okay, to see who you might like. So we're getting bombarded with lots of choice, if you like, or potential, not potential choice, seemingly potential choice perhaps, which lead us to make maybe poorer decisions. There's a phenomenon in psychology called the paradox of choice. Lots of evidence to suggest, not with dates, but with lots of other things, and there's no reason why we don't apply that to a dating context, but the more choice we get of things, okay, we make poorer decisions, we're less satisfied with our decisions. So in online dating doesn't just give you one person, is it? It gives you like that person, that person, that person. Ooh, well, which one shall I choose? God, there's loads of them. Okay? It kind of gives you that kind of impression, which lead us to make poorer decisions. Herbert Simon talked about people who are what we call individual differences in psychology, people who are maximizers or satisficers. There are people who, this might be dangerous, but if you're a maximizer, okay, you're the type of person who likes to kind of maximize your choice. So imagine that when you're presented with lots of choice, okay, we're going, oh, that one, or I might try that one, oh look, there's a better one, okay, and people kind of move on and try to maximize the choice they make. Okay, so online dating maybe lead us to make poorer decisions. Okay, we don't make the same decisions that we do with seeing someone in real life. We evaluate one person at a time. Online dating, we don't. We see lots of different people, leading us to make poorer decisions, perhaps. And we make, in hypothesis testing, we talk about what we call type 2 errors, which means that sometimes, when we, well, it basically means there that we don't, accept the hypothesis as true, even if it is. How that sort of applies to online dating is that if we're bombarded with lots of choice, we might bypass a perfectly good choice, okay, in the hope that we're going to get something better. Okay? We don't do that kind of in real life, I don't think, do we? Okay? I don't think. Well, maybe we do. Has anyone heard of optimal stopping theory? Optimal stopping? Yeah, I think, isn't it that, applied to dating, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but it's, where we think of how many people we could potentially date in our lives, okay? I think we take the square root of that, so if it's 100 people we could potentially date, take the square root of 10, okay, we date 10 people, and then the person after that we meet who's better than the previous 10, that's the person for us. Okay, so it stops us sort of, not meeting, but it stops us, casting someone aside every time we see somebody better. Okay, thirdly then, I said in online dating, lots of online dating sites profess to use what we call matching algorithms. If anyone's used, for example, eHarmony, who used to post that they were a dating site, but they were a relationship site. So it's saying that we want to get people into a relationship, it's not just a date. If you look at eHarmony and a few others, you have to fill in a sort of long personality profile first of all, and then they'll say they'll match you up with somebody else. I do not know, and I've talked to other people who say they don't know how these matching algorithms actually work. So they say we're going to match you up with somebody, but you fill in this long personality profile. How are they actually matching you? We actually don't know. Okay, so they're suggesting, and it kind of creates the impression, doesn't it? That's that kind of romantic belief that there's somebody out there for everybody. Does anyone here watch First Dates on Channel 4? Okay, yeah. I used to be my favourite program to watch it. Fred at the beginning says, there is someone, I think it's someone like, there's someone there for it's true love for everyone. The sad fact is that there may not be. Okay, sorry for saying that. But it kind of creates matching. It's like, it's almost like this matching. We matched with someone in a kind of jigsaw fashion. We matched. We're not. So we don't know what criteria they're using for match, and we don't know how sustainable those matches are. Okay, so people might be matched sort of briefly. They're not. We don't know how well they matched ultimately. And furthermore, when people get together, they might not be matched anyway, but they might sort of adjust, and sometimes obviously adjust their behaviour, adjust what they're like, okay, to sort of fit with somebody. So, to claim that there's a matching algorithm that get people to meet might be a little bit of a strong claim, I think. Okay, number 4 then is in online dating, okay, people are not what they seem. I think if you've tried online dating, you might appreciate what I mean from this, right? People are not what they seem. People can, I'd say crudely, advertise themselves as something which they might not be. Okay, so people sort of say they're this. We use the term misrepresentation. They misrepresent what they say they're like. Monica Whitty, who I think is recently at sort of University of Warwick, came up with some information on this and the ways in which males and females misrepresent themselves in online dating. Okay, so when we say misrepresent, maybe we're saying that people put up a different photo of themselves than the one which they currently look like. Yeah. Okay, so this is the kind of thing in terms of photograph. Okay, males misrepresent their photographs 6.7% of the time, females 46.7% of the time. Okay, I've gone back and checked that several times, so I really wasn't convinced, but it is the fact. It does not mean that you're going to put up a photo of you as somebody else, but sometimes people say, well, I've not changed much in the last 10 years, have I? Maybe I have. Okay. In terms of relationship status, males, bad males, 13.3% of the time, females 6.7% of the time. Age, weight, socioeconomic status and interests. Lots of these are consistent with ways in which males advertise themselves anyway. They'll advertise themselves as single. In terms of their socioeconomic status, that's a far more relevant characteristic for males to advertise than for females to advertise. So, but people do misrepresent themselves in online dating. So, the person you meet, may not be the person that, the handsome, attractive person whose photo you've seen on their profile, maybe. Okay, so just be, and obviously, people are going to use the best photo of themselves, aren't they? If you've done this, you're going to look around, take advice, which is the best photo of me. You're not going to just pick up anyone. Okay, fifthly then, I said that online dating offers a means of communication, a means of sort of online chatting beforehand. And it kind of goes like this, isn't it? There's online chat, okay, this is the way we hope it works. There's going to be chat, some kind of intimate chat, okay? People are going to get into sort of talking about, slightly more intimate things. That facilitates rapport between people, okay, which eventually leads to face-to-face meeting. That's hopefully how it kind of is going to work. And what we're kind of hoping is that through online chat, there's going to be disclosure of information, okay, that people tell each other about themselves. We know, and there's lots of evidence on this, in terms of disclosure, in terms of telling people about yourself, either online or face-to-face. The more you tell somebody, okay, not too much, you don't come on full on straight away, oh hello, my mother's an alcoholic, by the way. Okay, that would be too much too quick. But the more we tell people about ourselves, then the more attractive we appear to them. The more we can get other people to tell them about, tell us about them, okay, then the more attractive again they think we are. Okay, so disclosure of information, just that kind of subtle disclosure, okay, does facilitate a degree of attraction. In online chat, okay, as you can appreciate, it could be slightly anonymous, it's certainly invisible. There are no non-verbal cues. People often chat with a degree of fantasy, as if it's a bit of a game, which leads to what we call the online disinhibition effect. People will say more and will say it a lot quicker online than they will face-to-face. And if you think about it, that has to happen online. If you go on a date with somebody face-to-face, okay, you can go on a date and maybe the conversation sort of dies a little bit. It doesn't matter too much, does it? Okay, and if you say, oh, I don't know, well, that's a nice lamp there. Okay, that's fine. Online, you can't do that, can you? If you're chatting with somebody, you can't say, oh, yeah, my carpet is grey. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? So people are less inhibited, okay, and they have to chat a lot more online than they might face to face.
What is asynchronicity, please?
Sorry, I beg your pardon, yeah. Probably a little less relevant now, but asynchronicity on synchronous chat is sort of real-time chat, okay? What used to be called asynchronous chat would be things like, sending a message and not getting one back straight away, like an email, okay? And I'll quickly say why that is important, obviously, is because if you get a message and you can think about it, okay, you can construct your reply, you can engage in a higher degree of what we call the way in which you present yourself, okay? So you can, that's kind of important if that chat is asynchronous. Okay. So this kind of disclosure back and forth, which is, we're less inhibited, okay, leads to reciprocal disclosure. It's called hyperpersonal communication. What we found, if you look, and this is just anecdotally, of dating scams that people kind of fall in. You only have to look not too far on YouTube to find sort of stories of people who've been scammed on online dating sites. Okay, and it's because the scammers will do this. Okay, they'll engage their kind of target. Okay, in this kind of communication, people talk about being in love with someone even though they've not even met them. Okay, so what I'm saying is just be very careful about chatting online, disclosing too much, saying too much, giving away too much information. Sixthly, it's not a quick fix, is it? Online dating. People go, oh, I was in a relationship, I'm not now. Oh no, I think I'm going online dating. Okay, Monday by Friday I'll have a date. Great. It's not quite like that. Okay, but people maybe get the impression that, well, I paid money to a dating site. I pay what, £40 a month or something. I should get something for my money. Not necessarily. This is a little bit of old data, but 22 minutes, for example, every time people visit an online dating site, they're spending that amount of time on there. These people said that people might spend 12 hours a week. 12 hours a week in online dating? Okay, that's the kind of effort you have to put in, perhaps. 12 hours a week is what? 3 nights out? 2 nights out at least? Okay, but you're staying in and online dating instead. Also in terms of time, I'm going to say cynically as well that if you're on a dating site and if you're on there for too long, that's not going to be a good thing, is it? I don't think. Because if you're on there for too long, either, there's two things. Either you're you're there and you're a product. I'm talking about co-leave. You're a product that nobody wants. Okay, you're there. I'm sorry, but if you're there too long, or you're a player. You're just there and you're sort of so maybe not too good to be there. On that site for very long. Perhaps I don't. And seventhly, will it work in reality? Probably more so now. But if you can imagine the time where maybe people used online dating a little bit less, and you met somebody, if you live in Cambridge, you met somebody, or you were contacting somebody, let's say, down the road in Stevenage. I don't know how far that is away, what, half an hour? An hour? I don't know, well, whatever, or Colchester or somewhere. Okay, then, it might be a bit more difficult, mightn't it? To, if you live in London, and you met somebody in London, it's not so bad. But basically, at the end of the day, somebody's going to meet to be with, somebody's not going to meet somebody, somebody's going to move to be with the other person, haven't they? If that relationship's going to work properly, maybe it involves you moving. Andrea Baker said, well, the online dating works. It depends, where people meet, what sites. If those sites kind of cater for shared interests, because we know that people who've got shared interests tend to be more attracted to one another, rather than opposites attract has no basis in psychology. That's absolutely not true. Okay, people are similar, so it's where they meet, what they do together, taking the time to get to know each other apparently, and then having good communication and maybe understanding and thinking, well, if we're going to be together, then we've got to move. One of us has to move. That might entail some kind of effort. Okay. So yeah, there's distance involved, and so one person's got to move to be with the other. Okay, so just a few minutes then on maybe improving your chances. Okay, and nobody's saying that online dating absolutely will work if you do this or that or whatever, but it's rather like sports psychologists when they train athletes. Okay, they're not guaranteeing them how they'll do. But what sports psychologists are trying to do is maybe improve your chances slightly, maybe make the likelihood of something winning, somebody winning a little bit better. So you have to decide, I guess, which site you're apt to use. I showed you a few earlier on. I'm not suggesting, well, unless you want, you use those. But if you use lots, there's over 1,000 or plus. I don't know. I've read various sources of the number of different sites available. You'd have to have lots of time and lots of money if you were to use them all. So use one which is which is right for you, I would say. Again, Eli Finkel sort of categorises them into sort of general self-selection sites, niche dating sites, matching sites, and then there's hookup sites, all those kind of things. So he's kind of categorised them into those particular areas there. Okay, but you need to use a site which is right for you. One thing I'm just going to say about Tinder, okay, is that the kind of one advantage perhaps it has over the others is that it only lets you talk to somebody if you're a match. Okay, so if you match up, then you can send a message. If you matched up, then you kind of know there's reciprocal attraction. You know that you like each other, rather than going on to one of the others and sending endless messages and becoming disheartened because you sent lots of messages and nothing's happened. So at least with that, you're kind of chatting with somebody who's like you back, as it were. We know in attraction that similarity and familiarity are important. So as I was saying earlier, using one of those niche sites which caters for a kind of shared interest. Okay, I don't know. Singleskeptics.com or something like that, eh? Okay, then that kind of caters for your shared interests. Okay, it might be the best option to do that rather than maybe one of the mainstream sites. In terms of constructing your profile, okay, evolutionary psychology, and we know even before dating sites, psychologists looked at did sort of content analyses of personal ads in newspapers. The ways in which males and females advertise themselves is sort of slightly different. Males have to sort of advertise, wealth, success, that kind of thing, whereas females have to advertise just being, attractive, physically attractive. Okay, I won't go into the kind of evolutionary basis of that, but that's the kind of way it still works, even though we've gone past that stage in our evolution. Okay, so it's attractive male, seeks attractive female, seeks dominant male, successful male, or dominant successful male seeks attractive female. It is the kind of, not that obvious, obviously, but something like that is how it works. In terms of the way in which you construct a profile, these people have suggested that lower use of personal pronoun I. Maybe people are more successful if they use I less. Lower use of what we call leisure words, such as movie. Higher use of the word you. Higher use of words such as relationship, helpful. I'm looking for a relationship in your profile. Looks a little bit better, perhaps. And they did find that people using negative words, there was no effect. It didn't sort of dishearten anybody. Didn't stop them, liking the other person. Okay, so you've chosen your site, you've set up your profile. The next thing you have to do is to evaluate the profiles of others. Eli Finkel again says, I like this sentence, limit yourself to a manageable set of candidates. It sounds like a sort of job, doesn't it? But obviously, you can't like everybody, so you have to kind of limit yourself. If you're talking to several people at once, you're kind of limiting yourself to a certain number of people that you might talk to. So you kind of do that. Avoid an assessment mindset. I don't know if anyone here has done this, but if when you've been single, okay, you've gone, I'd like to meet somebody. What type of person would I like? I'd like a person who, will send me a text, say good morning. Okay, I like someone with blue eyes, someone with a Mercedes. Yeah, you done that? Then you made a list. Okay, the advice is to not do that, not assess people, not say right, that person's got this, that person's got that. I think my sister told me that when I was a kid that, shall I go out with this guy because he's got a car, or this guy because he's got money, or this guy because he makes me laugh? Well, you've got a choice. Well, okay, so don't do that. It's not assessment mindset. You like who you like. Okay, try and imagine apparently who you'd have an enjoyable time with. Okay, the profiles might be slightly misleading. Okay, somebody might be better than their profile, somebody might be worse. So try not to sort of go, eliminate all the ones who don't sort of come within your what you want. When people make evaluations, sometimes you make spontaneous choices. Sometimes we kind of sit back and have a little think about it. Sometimes, right? So the types of choices we make depends on whether we're making a spontaneous ones. I like that person, or a more considered choice. In online chat, so we have chosen your dating site, you've set up your profile, you've looked at profiles of other people, like on Match or something, you sent them a kiss or a wave or whatever it is you send them, okay, and then you only paid your money because you can't chat there unless you're paying the cash. And so you're engaged in some online chat. Okay, one of the things, or probably the most common thing really, is when people advertise themselves, they say, I like someone with a good sense of humour. Okay, there's a little abbreviation, GSOH, It doesn't mean got snail on head. It means good sense of humour. Okay, so males and females both say they like somebody with a good sense of humour. Okay, what we mean by good sense of humour differs apparently between males and females. So if you consider a situation, right, where you're dating two different people, okay, they're pretty identical in all areas, apart from person A is great at making you laugh. Okay, they're great at making you laugh. They don't laugh at you, but they're great at making you laugh. The second person isn't so good at making you laugh, but they laugh at you. Well, not laugh at you, but laugh at things you say. So which person do you think you like? So the person who's great at making you laugh, or the person who likes to laugh at you?
The second.
Second one? Anyone like the first one? You like both of them? I know you do, yeah. Okay.
The one that cooks best.
Okay. Well, the preferences are defined by these. It's humour production, okay? That is, someone who makes you laugh is generally preferred by females. Humour appreciation preferred by males. Actually, going back to reading that paper again, humour appreciation obviously is liked by everybody, because if you said something you thought was funny and nobody laughed, that would be just a bit bad, wouldn't it? Right? So we all like humour appreciation, but humour production is preferred more by females. So females apparently like to be made to laugh. So if you can kind of do that in online dating, throwing a few jokes as a guy, okay, then that might work to your advantage. In terms of predicting sort of romantic interest, okay, if you look at, and this isn't from online dating obviously, but if you look at what we call mixed sex dyadic interactions, okay, male and female chatting, okay, you can predict with a certain degree of accuracy the sexual interest between the two by looking at who's laughing. So if it's the female who's laughing, okay, the male, then it's all going great. If the male is laughing, the female's not laughing, then that's not so good. Right? So that's the kind of way around it works. So it's incumbent upon males to make females laugh. Okay? Nobody's going to laugh at me anymore. Okay. In terms of this sort of contact and reciprocation, males are more likely to make contact first than females. That's kind of the way it is, I guess. Popular people, okay, reciprocate less. Popular people are the people who get lots of messages, so as a ratio of the messages they get to reciprocation, that's lower. Again, replying to messages, males reply 26% of the time compared to females 16% of the time. Apparently eager messages, okay, are not perceived as a turn-off, according to this. So we've all done this, have we? Someone you like, okay, we'll send you a text. And you go, you're like, wait, I'm not going to reply. Well, I'll leave them for a bit. Okay? No, don't do that. If you like them, reply straight away. Okay? Don't leave it for 2 hours, play it cool. Okay? But that's not, doesn't really matter. Apparently. I'll be going back to cards. You might try that and you might not work. Oh, kill him. And bear in mind as well, your online chat, there's a certain, I've said etiquette, this is a rather polite word, but has anyone come across the term ghosting? Okay, where people don't reply to your message. Okay, people do that a lot more with sort of online communication than they used to face to face. Because you couldn't, I guess, before, could you? If you met somebody, unless you wanted to move to a different town, you weren't gonna, if you want to go to that extent. But you can kind of ignore some of these messages. So, but just appreciate that kind of goes on. If you're happy with that, then it'll be a lot better rather than giving up and taking it very personally. All right, so it does take a lot of effort, online dating, to do it. So don't give up, don't take it personally. It's not that. Finally, to say optimistically, I hope, I don't know if you can see that, but it's supposed to show a correlation, okay, between measured attractiveness, okay, of females at least, and the amount of messages they receive in online dating. Okay, you would maybe predict that there would be a linear relationship here between someone's level of attractiveness and the amount of messages they get. Yeah, on that kind of what we call a scatter plot. Okay, so you'd expect there to be a, the more attractive you are, the more messages you get. Actually, not the case. Okay, somebody down here who's low in attractiveness getting the same amount of messages as someone up there who's quite high in attractiveness. So it might be that, and I know that some males have been suggested that for example, on Tinder, they'll just want, yes to everybody, okay, in the kind of hope that, one is going to kind of work, so they're going to send messages to everybody. Well, I guess it means that, perceived attractiveness might sort of vary in terms of, what people find attractive, although there is a kind of, what we find attractive is, we share that, but there are kind of bits of variation. So the amount of messages, as related to perceived attractiveness, it's not, a really sort of good, strong correlation between those two things. So on that optimistic note, I will stop. So thank you very, very much for your time and attention. Thank you.